I welcome you to the Messiah Revelation channel, End Time Prophetic channel dedicated to preparing the world for the arrival of the Messiah. One of the missions that will be tackled by the Messiah is the gathering of the outcasts of Israel and the dispersed of Judah. Who are those? Who are the Hebrews who are scattered all over the world? And today my discussion is focused on the color line. When I say the color line, I'm talking about how skin color, how racism has affected the classification and determination of who is a Hebrew, who is a Jew, and particularly in the United States. And I was reading a book. It was written by Bruce Haynes, and the title is called The Soul of Judaism, Jews of African Descent. And he's looking at black people who identify as Jews. He used the word Jews, and he made certain points, and I think the points are very important. He himself is a Jew, and he believes that in America particularly, who is a Jew is influenced by a color line. And it's because to be a Jew, you need to be a white person. And that is the color line that he talks about. It's a skin color line. It's a racial issue. Jewness and whiteness. Jewness and whiteness. If you are not white, then it's difficult for you to self-identify that you are a Jew. I would rather use the word Hebrew. So he talks about the color line that has prevented so many black people from self-identifying as being a Jew in the United States. And I believe that it also applies to the rest of the world. And so we are looking at the color line that prevent people from claiming to be Hebrew. And as a result of that, we are looking at groups of Africans who are Hebrews, but they are lost from the system. They are not recognized from the system. And so that's the basis of our message today. Bruce Haynes talks about the color line, how the fusion of whiteness with Jewishness has excluded black people from calling themselves a Jew or claiming to be Hebrews. Of course, if you are a Hebrew Israelite in America, the media looks at you as a member of a cult, C-U-L-T. And Bruce Haynes talks about an issue. The issue is that in America, if you have a small black blood, if you have a small blood that is black in your body, you are a full black person. But when a white person has an Indian blood in him, he will say, oh, I have a little Indian blood. But if you have a small one drop of black blood in you, you are a full black person. And so that is the color line. And apart from the color line, what prevents black Hebrews from being recognized as Hebrews is what Bruce Haynes calls Rabbinic hegemony. And what is rabbinic hegemony? It is the notion that for you to be a Jew or a Hebrew, you need to be recognized by a rabbi. And of course, the rabbi is the rabbi in Israel, the rabbi in New York, a white rabbi. And for you to be a Hebrew, you must convert to Judaism. And so even if you are a Hebrew, already a Hebrew, born a Hebrew, your ancestors are Hebrews by the bloodline, you need to convert to Judaism under the supervision of the rabbis, and that is what we call rabbinic hegemony. Somebody who is hegemonic is somebody who imposes his culture on other people. And so we have rabbinic hegemony, and if you are not white, then you are not a Jew. You cannot be a Jew. So it would be an abomination for a black person, whether Kanye West or Kyrie Irving, to call himself a Jew or a Hebrew. It's because of the problem of the color line. And so today we are focusing on some Hebrew groups in Africa. And Bruce Haynes talks about the Limba. So let's look at the Limba. The Limba is a tribe in Zimbabwe, a Limba tribe, Zimbabwe, and also parts of Southern Africa. And Bruce Haynes is saying that the Limba tribe is easily recognized by the global Jewish community. Why is that the case? The reason is that they conducted DNA. They found that the DNA of the Limba actually aligned with the DNA of the European Jew. And that is interesting. The DNA of the Limba align in a lot of cases with the DNA of the European Jews. Of course, we're talking about the Ashkenazi Jew. Do you trust that assertion? Do you trust the conclusion that the Limba is Hebrew because their DNA aligns with that of the European Jews, Ashkenazi Jew? For a black man to be a Jew, your DNA must correspond to the DNA of the European Jew. And how did they collect the sample of the European Jew? Did they collect the sample of Aaron, Moses, Issachar, Gad, Judah? Did they collect their samples to do the DNA test, or are they using the Ashkenazi Jews as a benchmark? And so that's the problem of the black man, black woman, and the African, a person of African descent in North America, in the Caribbean, in the West Indies, who self-identifies as a Hebrew. You have to be that like the Limba tribe in Zimbabwe. Your DNA must align with that of the European Jews. Of course, that methodology is flawed. And because the Limba were recognized because of their DNA, a lot of people, African groups, Hebrews, they want to be recognized, they want to be accepted by the global Jewish community. So this is the case of the Limba. The Limbas are Hebrews by bloodline, and their Hebrewness is supported by their oral history and their traditions. So we are forgetting the Limba, and let's move to Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, we encountered the Beta Israel group. Ethiopian Jews called Beta Israel. How do they fit in? They are lucky. They are lucky because in 1980, they were recognized. At least some of them were lifted to Israel. In the 1990s, some of them were also lifted to Israel. Operation Moses, Operation Solomon. And that was an international airlift of Jews in Ethiopia. So at least in the early 1980s, 1990s, the Jewish state, Israel, was beginning to recognize that there were quote-unquote Jews who were black and who are in Ethiopia. But they didn't even find it easy. The Beta Israel group didn't find it easy because people look at them with condescending mindset, and they call those people Falasha Jews. Falasha is a derogatory word. If you are a Falasha Jew, it means that you are a stranger, you are a foreigner. How can an Ethiopian Hebrew be a foreigner when King Solomon met the queen of Ethiopia, Queen of Sheba of Ethiopia? And you remember what happened? Ethiopians are proud people. They claim their Hebrew ancestry as a result of the relationship between King Solomon and the Ethiopian queen. And as a result, we had kingdoms in Ethiopia, Solomonic kingdoms in Ethiopia, Menelik the First and Menelik the Second, and Emperor Haile Selassie. And they all boasted about their Solomonic heritage. And so you saw a kingdom from the tribe of Judah in Ethiopia, lasting for 3,000 years until Emperor Haile Selassie, who is a direct descendant of King Solomon, was ousted in Ethiopia. But even then, even though it's very clear that the Beta Israel, the Ethiopian Jews, are from the tribe of Judah, and when they were quote-unquote accepted by the Jewish state of 1948, they reclassified them as belonging to the tribe of Dan. It's not the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Dan. So how do they do the classification? How do you classify the ancestor of King Solomon as from the tribe of Dan instead of from the tribe of Judah, the same tribe that the Messiah comes from? Of course, you know that nothing good can come from Nazareth. No Jew can come from Africa. And so we will reluctantly accept you as a Jew, but we will classify you, reclassify you, or misclassify you, mischaracterize you as from the tribe of Dan, not from the tribe of Judah. So that's the case of the Beta Israel, who are Ethiopian Jews, directly Jews by bloodline, but they are not recognized. Of course, I met a Hebrew Israelite from Demona, living in Demona. I met him and I had a discussion with him. And when I had a discussion with him, he was complaining that the Ethiopian Jews are classified as from the tribe of Dan because the Jews of 1948 don't want to accept a black man as a Jew. So that's the story of the Beta Israel group in Ethiopia. So let's look at Uganda. And Uganda will have a tribe. And the tribe, I will spell it for you. the Abayudaya, Abayudaya, Abayudaya tribe in Uganda. And let me spell it again. Abayudaya, Abayudaya from Uganda. Now, who are the Abayudayas? The Abayudayas are a Hebrew tribe in Uganda, and they claim direct descent from King Solomon. And based upon research, they have so many kings of the Abayudaya who are directly from the line of King David. They are in Uganda. And I was watching a video where they celebrated their 100-year anniversary. 100 years since they had the awareness and revelation that the Hebrews, the Abayudaya tribe. Abayudaya means from the tribe of Judah. Are they recognized by the Jewish community? Yes, but they are not readily accepted as true Hebrew Israelite, even though they trace their ancestry to King David by custom, by tradition, and by records. The British who controlled Uganda, they knew that this group, they were Hebrews. And you remember the Balfour Declaration, when Lord Balfour and President Harry Truman and the Rockefellers, they decided to get a whole land for the Jews. They look at Uganda. Why did they look at Uganda? They look at Uganda because they recognized that there were Hebrews in Uganda. And so they felt that, hey, if we need a whole land for you, we will settle you in Uganda. They accepted it, but later on, they changed their mind. And so through the Balfour Declaration, the European Jews were located to Palestine, and that is where they are. And so that's the case of the Abayudaya of Uganda. They are Hebrews by descent, bloodline, and they have had so many kings who were direct descendants from the line of David. They are still in Uganda, and they are recognized as Hebrews. So let's look to the Igbos, the Igbos of Nigeria. Are they Hebrews? Yes, they are Hebrews, and they are recognized as Hebrews by the Europeans. Even Almighty Henry Kissinger, he wrote a memo to the US president and talking about the Igbos as the wandering Jews of Africa, wandering around. And here we're talking about the scattering of the Igbos. Through the Atlantic slave trade, the Igbos were scattered to all the four corners of the earth. A lot of people who were kidnapped and sent into captivity through the transatlantic slave trade, they were Igbos. They went into Virginia and other places in North America, and they also went to Brazil. We have Igbo community in Brazil and West Indies. The Igbos are Hebrews by oral tradition. I interviewed a man from Nigeria, and he says he's from the Igbo tribe, and the name of his town is called Obugad. Obugad, O-B-U-G-A-D. And of course, when you see the last word God, G-A-D, definitely we're talking about God, one of the tribes of Israel. And so basically, he shows his lineage from the tribe of Gad. That's why they have a city in Nigeria, Obugad. Obugad means people from the tribe of Gad. And I also interviewed one Nigerian. He's an Igbo. He lives in the United States, and he gave me the oral history. And he said that in the olden days, when the Hebrews fled from Jerusalem and they came to Nigeria, and if you ask them, "Who are you?" They will say, "I'm Hebrew. I'm Hebrew. IBRU." It's a corruption of Hebrew. I'm Hebrew. I'm Hebrew. And that's why the later came to be known as the IGBOS. And so there's a corruption of word, and you need a good expert in linguistics to be able to show linguistically that Igbo is a corruption of Hebrew, the word Hebrew. The Igbos are true members of the tribe of Israel. And for those who are watching this video, you will recall that somewhere in 1995, I believe around that time, Israeli Prime Minister Ishak Rabin, he sent emissaries to Nigeria to look for the Igbos, because he heard that the Igbos are Hebrews. So he wanted to go and verify, and of course, it is true that the Igbos of Nigeria are also Hebrews. They are forgotten, they are lost, they don't have a white skin, they are not able to cross the color line, the skin color line. If you are white, and then you'll be able to fuse your whiteness with your so-called Jewishness or Hebrewness. But if you are a black man, if you are a Negro, you are not able to cross the color line, the color complex. The color complex was intensified during the Renaissance period, where characters in the Bible were painted as white men, white women. The color line was amplified during the transatlantic slave trade, when the color line was used. The word Negroes was used in a derogatory manner. And so the men and women in America who met African Hebrews for the first time, whether they are Hebrews of Ashanti, Hebrews of Limba, Hebrews of Igbo, Hebrews of Abayudaya tribe, Abayudaya tribe in Uganda, or the Tutsis of Rwanda, or the Zulus of South Africa. And when they met them, they saw their black skin, and definitely they said, you are in no Jew, you ain't no Hebrew, you are a Negro. And it's because of the color line that has been raised to exclude black Hebrews from the Bible, exclusion from the Bible. You remember, the black man was excluded from the Bible, and it took the efforts by scholars from America, and I will mention Walter McCray to write a book, Black Lessons in the Bible, and then John Johnson to write a book, Black Biblical Heritage, and also for Rudolph Windsor to write a book From Babylon to Timbuktu, and also Nigerian scholar, professor of Old Testament history, David Ademo, to write a book, Africa and Africans in the Old Testament. He also wrote another book, Africa and Africans in the New Testament. And in recent times, the effort to awaken the Hebrews who are black has been undertaken. The effort has been undertaken by a gentleman from Pittsburgh. His name is Ronald Dalton Jr., and he has written a 4-volume book from Hebrews to the Negroes that is an exhaustive commentary on the so-called Negroes who are Hebrews. So our analysis is about the color line in Hebrew identity. If you are not white, you wouldn't fit. Even though you fit into Deuteronomy 28:68, because you are black, you wouldn't fit. You wouldn't fit even if your customs and traditions show that you are a Hebrew. You wouldn't fit because your DNA will not align with the DNA of an European Jew, an Ashkenazi Jew. You will not fit. But as Johnny Cochran said in his summation in the trial of O.J. Simpson, if it doesn't fit, acquit. And so if any person claims to be a Jew or a Hebrew, but he doesn't fit the curses and blessings in Deuteronomy 28, has no ships to show that they were scattered by ships into Egypt again, then I believe that it doesn't fit, and therefore you have to acquit. You are the jury, and you know the history from Babylon to Timbuktu, what happened in Jerusalem, destruction of Jerusalem, as prophesied by the Messiah, Luke 21:24. Some of you will be caught on the edges of the sword, and you will be taken captive to all the four corners of the earth, and Jerusalem will be trodden by Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles. And the Messiah went ahead in Revelation 2:9, 3:9. And know those who say they are Jews, they are not, they are of the synagogue of Satan. And so now, as we are talking about the excluded black Hebrews, the Limbas in Zimbabwe, the Abayudas in Uganda, the House of Israel in Ghana, the Igbos in Nigeria, the Tutsis in Rwanda, and the Beta Israel in Ethiopia. You have to remember that we are facing a color line, a line that is very difficult to cross, because even if you are a Hebrew, you have to blasphemously convert into Rabbinic Judaism, and so that you'll be under Rabbinic hegemony for you to prove that you, quote unquote, are a Hebrew. But don't worry, the time is coming. The Messiah will deliver, emancipate, proper emancipation, not the 1865 emancipation of the Negroes in America. Proper emancipation coming from the Messiah, who, based on Isaiah 11:11, will gather the outcasts of Israel and the dispersed of Judah from all the four corners of the earth, and the Limba of Zimbabwe, the Zulus of South Africa, the Igbos of Nigeria, the Ashantis of Ghana. They will be found. They will no longer be classified as lost. They will be found. The lost tribe of Israel will no longer be in the vocabulary of the English language. Thank you for watching this video. I'm leaving my email, rachaafrica@yahoo.com, in the description box. Thank you. God bless you. The color line that is a hindrance to people who self-identify as Hebrews. Rabbinic hegemony, that is a hindrance to those black men and women who identify as Hebrew. Of course, if you're a black man, you call yourself a Hebrew, they will say, no, you are a member of a court. Thank you for watching this video.